Hello, dear ones. If you found this channel, you probably know that sometimes the kindness we give with the whole of our hearts is used as currency by those we love most. And sometimes the only way to teach a lesson is to repossess the tuition. I want you to imagine my kitchen just a few months ago. The clock read 11:02 p.m. The house was quiet, the way only an empty house can be when the kids have long been gone. I was just settling in with a cup of chamomile tea when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my son, Nathan. It said, "Hey Mom, just a heads up, Tiffany finalized the guest list. We won't need you at the wedding. Venue capacity, you know." We won't need you. That's the line that broke through the years of excuses, the years of slights. Not sorry, not we wish, but we won't need you. I sat there, just staring at the screen, not crying, not yet, just feeling the slow, cold weight of a 3-year deception settle over me. You see, that beautiful, gleaming truck in the thumbnail, that Ford F-150, that wasn't just a vehicle. That was $50,000 cash, handed over with the kind of love a mother only gives when she thinks she's finally securing her son's future. In Texas, where we live, a truck like that is everything. It was for his landscaping business. He needed to haul his heavy equipment. He needed to look professional. He said, "Mom, this truck is my dream. It's my future." And I believed him. I poured everything I had into that truck. And what was everything I had? Well, my husband, James, passed away 5 years ago. He was a great man. And when he went, he left me one physical memory that mattered more than anything: his old, custom deer rifle. He bought it the year we moved to the ranch. It was beautiful, engraved with his initials. It was the only part of him I had left to touch. I couldn't raise $50,000 just pulling from my retirement, not without crippling my future. So I took James's rifle to a specialty auction house. I sold the last tangible piece of my husband, the thing I promised I would never, ever let go of, to buy Nathan that truck. I did it because I believed that kind of sacrifice, that kind of love, that kind of investment in his happiness would bind us forever. I believed that when he looked at that perfect, shining truck, he wouldn't just see a powerful engine. He'd see his father's memory. He'd see his mother's heart. I was wrong. He only saw a set of keys.
I told you I sold the last memory of my husband for that truck. But you need to know why that truck felt so necessary. It wasn't just for Nathan. It was a bid for acceptance from Tiffany, my son's fiancée. Tiffany, she wasn't a bad person, not in a loud way. She was worse. She was a gatekeeper. She was obsessed with appearances, with what she called structure. Everything in Nathan's life, from the way he folded his laundry to the way we celebrated Christmas, had to be filtered through Tiffany's idea of perfection. And my life, my simple, old-fashioned Texas life, didn't fit her perfect picture. She'd never yell, mind you. She'd just correct you. At dinner once, I told a story about Nathan as a boy fishing with his grandpa. Tiffany cut in, smiled that tight, polite smile, and said, "Marilyn, darling, let's keep the focus on us tonight, yes? We're telling our engagement story." She didn't exclude me with malice. She excluded me with efficiency. It was a slow drip, drip, drip. fewer group photos at holidays. When they finally started planning the wedding, my offers of help, my lifetime of hosting experience, were met with the same sugary dismissal. I offered to make my famous Texas pecan pies for the dessert bar. She said, "Oh, we're having a vendor for that, sweetie. Too much liability with homemade." I felt myself shrinking around her. I started double-checking my clothes before I saw them. I started watching my grammar. I was trying to make myself smaller, quieter, less visible, hoping that if I just blended into the furniture, she would allow me to stay in Nathan's life. I was desperate to prove my worth, so I offered to pay for the honeymoon suite. It was a massive hotel in the city, thousands of dollars for 2 nights. I said, "Nathan, please, let me do this. It's my gift to you both." Tiffany actually laughed. She said, "Marilyn, that's incredibly sweet, but we've already secured the presidential suite. Honestly, that money would be better spent if you just helped out with the catering deposit." She was telling me, "Your emotional, generous gift is worthless. We only value your fungible cash." But I kept quiet. I wrote the catering check. I just wanted a seat at that table. The truck, you see, was the one thing Tiffany genuinely loved that came from me. She would drive it constantly. She even used the business logo Nathan put on the side for her wedding invitations. It was her truck now, too. I foolishly thought, the truck is too big to ignore. The sacrifice is too huge to forget. They can't possibly cut me out now. Then came that text. 11:02 p.m. "We won't need you at the wedding."
Shame is a heavy blanket. And that night, reading Nathan's text, I finally threw it off. It wasn't just about the wedding. It was about the lie that had been living in my home for 3 years. The lie that said my love was enough to overcome their greed. I didn't reach for my phone to plead or argue. I walked past the kitchen, down the hall, to the small den where James and I used to handle the bills. I opened the small, fireproof metal safe hidden behind an old photo of the grandkids. I wasn't looking for money. I was looking for leverage. And there it was, folded neatly, tucked beneath our last tax return, the official embossed document from the state of Texas, the certificate of title for the Ford F-150. I had kept it in my name, not because I mistrusted Nathan. Heaven forbid, no. I told the dealership I was keeping it until the wedding day, as an official tax-free wedding gift. I even printed a fancy label that read, "To Nathan and Tiffany, forever yours." I wanted the big moment, the grand gesture at the rehearsal dinner. I traced the line with my finger. Registered owner, Marilyn R. Monroe. Not Nathan, not Tiffany, just me. The realization hit me like a shot of cold water. He thought I was just the source of the money. He forgot I was the legal owner of the property. He had alienated the ATM, but the ATM still held the deed. I sat down at the desk, turned on the lamp, and looked at the date. The wedding was 3 days away.
They needed that truck for everything, picking up the groom's party, moving supplies to the remote venue, and their getaway car for the honeymoon road trip. If the truck vanished now, it wouldn't just be an inconvenience, it would be catastrophic. It would undo their entire, perfectly managed weekend. I could have been messy. I could have driven to their house and slashed the tires. I could have sent a dozen hateful texts. But messy revenge is weak revenge. My revenge had to be clinical, legal, and silent. I looked up the local sheriff's non-emergency number. I found the section in the Texas statutes regarding unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. I was preparing my case, rehearsing the lines I would use. I would not mention the wedding. I would not mention the text. I would simply report a theft of property by a party whose permission to use the vehicle had been revoked. For another hour, I paced. A mother's heart is a fool. I thought, what if I'm wrong? What if they realize their mistake? I pulled up my email and typed out a short message to Nathan. Are you sure this is what you want? Please talk to me. I stared at the blinking cursor. My finger hovered over the send button. I gave him an out, a chance to show humanity, to beg forgiveness, to remember who loved him first. I waited. 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I saw the 3 gray dots appear, indicating he was typing. My heart leapt. Maybe he would call. Maybe he would apologize. The dots vanished. He stopped typing. He never sent anything. He saw my offer of reconciliation, and he deliberately chose silence. That was the moment I set the laptop down. I didn't send my plea. I closed the email draft. My decision was final. The lesson would be learned.
Cold, patient, and calculating. The tension of a clock ticking. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 72 hours before the wedding, 72 hours before the tow truck arrived. They were 3 days of silence for them, but for me, they were 3 days of absolute cold-blooded calculation. Nathan and Tiffany live about 10 minutes from me, and because I needed to know exactly where that truck was, I drove by. I didn't get close, just a slow cruise down their street. The truck was there, gleaming. They had parked it right in the driveway, probably washing it every day to make it shine for the honeymoon. It was a symbol of their perfect, curated life. And I knew with absolute certainty that they were running around oblivious, ticking off checklist items. Centerpieces? Check. DJ confirmed? Check. Mother of the groom alienated? Check. Every time I saw it, the doubt would creep in. It's impossible to turn off a mother's instinct, even when it's being repaid with ice. I kept thinking of Nathan as a little boy, crying because he lost his favorite toy. This was going to be so much worse. I remembered the money, yes, but I also remembered the cost of the money. James's rifle, the memory of selling it still made my hands shake. I had to keep telling myself, this is not punishment. This is consequence. This is not hatred. This is a boundary. I made the call on Wednesday morning. It had to be a perfect call. No emotion, no backstory. I spoke to a very nice gentleman named Officer Martinez. I didn't say, my cruel son. I said,
I need to file a non-emergency report. My vehicle, a 2024 Ford F-150, VIN number, I gave him the full number, the make, model, and color. I stated clearly and calmly, the title is in my name, Marilyn R. Monroe. I had previously given the user, Nathan M. Smith, permission to operate the vehicle. That permission has been revoked as of this morning. He is currently in unauthorized possession of my property, and I would like to reclaim it. Officer Martinez was all business. He didn't ask about the wedding. He just ran the VIN, confirmed my ownership, and filed the report. Then he gave me a case number and the number for the approved towing company. The official language of the law, it was the coldest, most beautiful sound I had heard all week. He said they would treat it like any other repossession or unauthorized vehicle report. He gave me the window. They would dispatch the truck to the address I provided between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. on Thursday. Thursday, the day before the wedding. I didn't drive by. I didn't call. I just made a second cup of coffee and sat on my porch swing watching the clock tick past noon. I wasn't a spiteful woman, but I was finally a free woman. Free from the obligation to be polite, free from the hope that my love alone could fix a greedy heart. The truck was just a truck, but it was the delivery mechanism for a truth they desperately needed to hear. I was still Marilyn, and I still had power.
It was a beautiful Texas afternoon. I remember the air smelled like blooming jasmine. I was sitting on my porch swing, watching the clock. 1:45 p.m. I didn't hear the tow truck, but I heard the phone ring. It was Nathan. I let it go to voicemail. His first message was confusion, wrapped in annoyance. "Mom, hey, look, the truck just got towed. They said some police report? I don't know what kind of stupid mistake this is, but you have the title, right? Just call them and tell them it's mine. They have the truck with the wedding stuff in it. Call me back ASAP." He didn't mention the wedding exclusion. He didn't ask if I was okay. He just demanded I fix his inconvenience. I waited 5 minutes. I knew those 5 minutes were hell for him. The phone rang again. This time, his voice was different. He sounded frantic, breathless. "Mom, what is going on? I just got to the station. They showed me the paper. It says you reported it. Why would you do that? The wedding is tomorrow. They won't release it. They said you revoked my permission. Tell them it's a mistake. You can't do this." He was spiraling. And still no apology. Only fear of losing his things. I closed my eyes and pictured James's engraved rifle, the price of that truck. Then I looked at my phone. I didn't feel rage. I felt a quiet, devastating finality. I picked up the phone, and I didn't call the tow company. I didn't call Nathan. I called the dealership where I bought the truck. I spoke to my salesman, Mr. Peterson. I told him, I need to put my F-150 up for immediate sale. It is currently being held at the impound lot under my legal ownership. Please begin the paperwork now. The phone rang one more time. This time, it was Tiffany. Her voice was pure venom, a controlled scream. "Marilyn, you manipulative old woman. You are going to ruin everything. We bought all the decorations. We paid for the rehearsal. You are selfish. How could you do this to your own son? You tell them to release that truck right now. We need that truck for our honeymoon." That was her mistake. She confirmed it. They didn't see the truck as a gift from a loving mother. They saw it as a guaranteed asset they were entitled to use for their luxury honeymoon,
even as they discarded the giver. I walked into the kitchen, poured myself a glass of iced tea, and finally sent one short text to Nathan. I couldn't bear to let them think they still had power over my silence. The text read, "The terms of the gift were revoked when you chose exclusion. See the lawyer I am assigning to handle the disposal of the property." I put the phone down and turned it off. The silence that followed was not lonely. It was liberating. They were experiencing the exact same shock and powerlessness I felt when I read that text message days ago. But their shock was self-inflicted. And mine? Mine was funded by their entitlement. I didn't turn my phone back on until the following day, the day of the wedding. I was not being cruel. I was granting myself the peace they had stolen from me. I spent the morning drinking coffee, reading a book, and waiting for the sun to hit the jasmine just right. I was waiting for the apology that I knew would never come. When I finally powered the phone on, the voicemails and texts flooded in. 74 missed calls. Most were from Tiffany's wedding planner, and a few from relatives asking if I was sick. It was chaos, but it wasn't my chaos anymore. I scrolled past the rage, past the confusion. I was looking for the one message that mattered: sincere remorse. It never arrived. Finally, a text from Nathan arrived late that afternoon. It was long, calculated, and focused entirely on finance. He didn't start with, "Mom, I'm sorry." He started with, "Look, things went completely sideways. We had to rent a beat-up SUV. It was embarrassing. Tiffany's mother is furious." He continued, "I've been thinking, and I know you're hurt, but we're in a huge financial bind. Could you please just consider sending back the $50,000? You still have it. You don't need the truck. Just treat it like a loan that didn't work out. We can pay you back? Maybe." I put the phone down and just laughed. Not a joyful laugh, but a dry, tired chuckle. They wanted the money back. Not healing, not reconciliation, not even a simple confession of guilt. They wanted a refund on their betrayal. They truly saw me as the bank, a financial institution that could be exploited and then required to cover their overdraft charges when their poor choices failed. I thought about the word loan. A loan suggests repayment. A loan suggests respect. This was a gift, given with an open heart, and they had spent it by throwing my heart in the trash. I did not waste words. I did not waste my breath. I sent one last text to Nathan, and then I blocked both his and Tiffany's numbers. The text was short, final, and perfectly clear. A gift given in love is unconditional. A gift given in exchange for respect is not. The truck was the price of a lesson in entitlement, and the tuition is non-refundable.
That single text, the one telling Nathan the tuition for his entitlement was non-refundable, was the last time I engaged with them. The silence that followed was not empty. It was full of the quiet joy of having reclaimed my own space. The very next day, I finalized the sale of the Ford F-150. I didn't get $50,000 back, of course. Used cars, even slightly used ones, drop in value immediately. But I received a substantial check,
and I signed the title over to a good man who needed a reliable truck for his family. I made a new, clean transaction, free of resentment. I didn't need the money to pay bills. I needed the money to prove to myself that my boundaries were worth more than his excuses. People ask me if I forgave them. Forgiveness isn't a gift you owe someone who hasn't apologized. Forgiveness is a choice you make for yourself. And my choice was clarity. I realized I had spent years desperately trying to buy a seat at a table that was never meant for me. I had been begging for the approval of a daughter-in-law who saw me as an obstacle and a son who saw me as a wallet. That kind of love, a love you have to purchase with heirlooms and sacrifice, isn't love at all. It's compliance. I took the money from the sale of the truck and put it into a new account, an account just for me. And I started doing things I hadn't done since James passed. I joined a book club. I started having my old friends, women I'd neglected trying to please Tiffany, over for coffee again. I made a phone call to my friend Carol. Carol had been struggling after her husband died. She hadn't left the state in a decade. I called her and said, "Carol, I need a travel partner. How do you feel about seeing the Grand Canyon?" That's where the money went. Not to a fancy resort, but to a comfortable RV trip across the Southwest. Just Carol and me. We saw sights I always wanted to see. We talked for hours. We laughed until our sides ached. We were two strong, capable women who had spent years being overlooked, finally looking at the world and at each other. And in that vast, beautiful silence of the Texas and Arizona landscape, I realized I was never left behind. I simply found the ones who were walking my way. Nathan and Tiffany eventually sent a lawyer's letter asking for the money again. I had my lawyer send a one-sentence reply. It was the same sentence I sent Nathan. If you are listening to this and you have ever poured your heart into a family that forgot you, if you've been reduced to an ATM or a burden, know this: the most powerful thing you own is not your money. It's your boundary. You are never too old to repossess your self-respect.